Big match from Cavalry and Valor. Fraser Aird getting that goal in.
Welcome to Match Night. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, John Conway with you. He was having some technical difficulties, but no problems going forward because this is our favorite time of the week. Valor falling to Cavalry. Cavalry's first away win of the season, just win number 3, and they're right back in the mix in the Canadian Premier League. Plenty to get to on tonight's show. Let's bring up the up-to-date table in the Canadian Premier League. Well, the scores first, and then we'll move out to the table. 3-3, a thriller in Hamilton on Friday night. The Forge were up a goal and a man. 90+1. The Batar hero ends up scoring a brace and a late equalizer. York United looked good in a 2-1 victory over Halifax Wanderers. A little bit of controversy there. Ollie Bassett missed a penalty at the death, and Pacific go to our nation's capital and come away with a 1-0 win. And like you just saw, Fraser Aird with the goal as Cavalry beat Valor 1-0. Here's your up-to-date table. Atletico Ottawa on 25 points for a 5-point cushion on everyone else. Look at that, though. Between 2nd and 6th, just 3 points separating those sides. Forge 5th, Cavalry 6th. Who would have thought that at this juncture of the season? And Valor and Halifax both stuck on 10. It's a significant win for Cavalry. We heard some touching comments from Fraser Aird in his post-match reaction, dedicating that goal to Dylan Powley and the Powley family after his tragic passing just a couple weeks ago. Said this has been a very difficult week for him. It was a very difficult week for the Wielden family as well. It's been a difficult stretch of period of time for Cavalry on the field as well, just not being able to turn those draws into wins. They get the job done here today, a workmanlike effort in doing so.
Yeah, the first away win. There's a lot to like, John. I mean, they buckled up, they rolled up their sleeves. But I think Valor as well, there are 2 big chances where they have to go and be ahead in this game. But this is what it is in the CPL, right? Every team's so close. The matches are so tight. If you get a bit of fortune here and there, here with Malcolm Shaw and the handball, but they continue to go forward. And Fraser Aird has been the one supplying those assists, but today he takes matters into his own hands, John.
He lines that up. He fakes like his body shape, like he's going to cross it and catches the goalkeeper cheating a little bit and just drives it in the back of the net. Marco Carducci, by the way, makes a great save. Civil in from a long distance, and you know when he slows up, you take advantage. As a goalkeeper, if he slows up, now it's my turn to flip the advantage. And Carducci does a really good job of closing him down and making himself big and takes it off the face. But another good play here late in the game, goes to feet. He's just been excellent as a veteran guy who's been through it all, seen a lot. He's just been so good for this Cavalry team, and they're able to get a road win. You know, I still think, you may have mentioned in the halftime show that, you know, Cavalry needs to find a way to start stomping on some throats like during the game. Like these 1-0 games, and they got plenty of opportunity to get goals. I just think that there's moments where they're still trying to build up, they're still trying to stay true to who they are and their identity, but they still need to put a couple more in the back of the net.
Yeah,
they know that too.
I mean, Carducci with a couple big saves. Lloyd Quemi denied late. Another big stop by Carducci. Alarcon sent off, took the bait from Daly. Just can't raise your hand on a player. But we mentioned it, like perhaps Cavalry a little bit fortunate they even scored that goal. Looked like Malcolm Shaw handled it. I think in the competitions that we've been watching, namely the Euros, that goal would have been called back.
Agreed. It was a handball. I mean, and it does start, you see all the Valor defenders, they raise their hand, they stop for a second and a half. The referee missed that one.
Yeah, we'll see what Valor's new players look like moving forward. Still a competitive game by them today, and I think they'll feel a little bit hard done by that they didn't come away with anything. And Cavalry, Tommy Wielden Jr. told me pre-match, they're looking to actively add to this team. Nicolas Valin couldn't play today based upon Canada Soccer switching up the transfer dates. International transfers can now be processed as of June 12th, and that includes MLS sides as well. Originally, they thought it was June 5th. So this has affected multiple Canadian Premier League sides, including Cavalry. Earlier in the day on Sunday, Pacific traveled to Ottawa and came away with a 1-0 victory. Bahus, the former Atletico Ottawa player, with a really good goal here to open the scoring in the 48th minute, or I should say 45+3 in the first half. Atletico Ottawa ended up chasing the game. They got a late penalty courtesy of this. This is a handball on Luka Bielwa. This is so harsh. His arm is tucked into his body.
Look at this.
His arm is straight. This can't be it.
It's like your arm can't get closer to your side.
So I agree with you guys. Like his arms are close to the ball, but the problem is that's a shot on target, right? Like that ball could have gone into the net.
We saw
right?
that at the Euros, and Cucurella did it against Germany, and VAR looked at it and said it wasn't a handball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he didn't have the benefit of the doubt here. And Ollie Bassett has only missed one penalty in the Canadian Premier League. It came against Gazdov in Pacific last September. Then misses another one there.
I think the wilder stat, too, this is the first time in the CPL this season that Atletico Ottawa haven't scored in a game. Like, it's happened in CanChamps, but to think of the side that we know and we've all watched Atletico Ottawa defend. Now this season, this is the first match halfway through that they haven't scored a goal.
And Pacific's got their number, right? I mean, Pacific has found a way that, like, they know what the recipe is to get to.
It's just funny how that works, right, with certain teams. Like, you could be at the top of the table, but there's maybe one team that just gets the better of you sometimes.
Again, I'm watching those highlights. I mean, that's some bad defending from Ottawa there. Nobody steps out to close down. It's so passive. Great finish, but I mean, defensive-wise, they got to step and close that down.
It's a curse of Didic and Aparicio. You leave one team and your former team just finds a way to get the better of them. And honestly, the biggest thing, missed opportunity for Atletico Ottawa to, keep that sizable gap between them and the field. Stays at 5 points. So Pacific doing everyone else a favor across the Canadian Premier League. Halifax was in action at York. They fell 2-1. Notably, their captain Andre Rampersad played in this game. We have to walk you back to June 23rd in a Halifax 4-0 victory over Vancouver. Andre Rampersad sent off here for a high foot. Halifax appealed. In the process, Rampersad didn't play last week. There was no contact there, and Canada Soccer's disciplinary panel decided that they took away the suspension, even though he had already missed a week, and then fined Vasco Fry, which begs the question, why wasn't this review panel put together the week prior so Rampersad didn't have to miss any games and they could have straightened this out in the first place? Just, you can't delay that long, then all of a sudden change the way that we look at things.
Canada Soccer disciplinary panel need to be better. As soon as you get a red card, I've gotten one in the CPL, and you've never gotten a red before. You're good. Keep it.
Oh, I've got it.
You get a red, your whole week changes. Yeah. And it's not, okay, you left the game and you left your team with 10 men. Your training changes, your preparation. In a 28-game season, every match, every minute matters. If you have a player, a star player, a captain, a day oneer in the CPL, missing a match because you can't get your act together in 24, 48, 72 hours, that matters. The same way you hold players and you want things to be done quickly and in the correct way, it has to be done on the panel as well, no?
I mean, I know in MLS, I mean, it's the next day, and phone calls are flying as soon as the game's over. Balls getting moving to see, well, can we get this reviewed? What's the fine? Do we have to pay the $25,000? Like a $25,000 fee to take it to the committee.
Yeah, right.
And there's big decisions about all this because you lose that money if you don't. But I mean, like, the ball starts rolling immediately as soon as the final whistle blows. I mean, guys are on the horn in the coach's room, talking to whoever they need to talk to about getting this stuff going.
The issue is here, and it's not the first time this has happened, but this goes through Canada Soccer.
Yeah.
This is not a CPL review panel. This is a Canada Soccer review panel. So that's where the referees come from, so they're at the mercy of the CSAs. It just needs to be quicker. It has to be better in order to maintain the integrity of the league. Speaking about refereeing decisions, a potential missed call late. York United were up 2-1 over Halifax. It was a competitive game. In the 92nd minute, Zachary Fernandez goes down in the box. I was watching live. I couldn't really tell what happened. Martin Perreault kind of trips him up, then completely falls over him. This looks a penalty to me. What say you, Jordan?
I've seen it a couple of times. I've seen it at different angles. I try to watch these in real time as much as possible. I don't like to watch the replays over and over. I think it's a pen, Wheels.
Yeah.
I think this is an opportunity for Halifax Wanderers to tie that game, and I don't think they got it. When you get into the box, even as a defender, I've lived my whole life, you cannot play the same way that you do outside the box. Mm-hmm. And outside the box, I can make a little contact, I can bump a little bit, I can go shoulder to shoulder a little bit more. Martin Perreault should have done this and left him. If you leave your legs, if you tangle someone else's legs, I think that's good enough to be called a pen.
John?
Panel.
Oh, he pointed.
Right to the spot,
He
guys.
pointed.
Right to the spot. No questions asked.
Conway saying you're saving that, though. You're not even worried.
That's the other thing. But I mean, I don't even know what's going through the referee's mind there. Like, that is so clear for me that that's a penalty. Maybe he could have pulled it back and maybe just outside the box because it looks like the initial contact
was outside.
Just out of the box. But if you don't have the benefit of VAR, you're kind of at.
It was clumsy, but he fouled him outside the box, but he finished the job well inside. It was like two separate fouls. It was just clumsy, yeah. So Halifax can feel a little bit hard done by there. Like, the one thing that needs to happen, the players need to stop chirping the ref so much during the game, because then I think the ref is like, I'm tuning you out by the end of the game. There's a lot of talking, and some of that just needs to be taken down a notch or two. Forge in Vancouver in a wild one on Friday night, which, good on Vancouver for going to earn a point. They started off live in this game. What a strike. Gabby Bitar's had a quiet season, but starting to show signs of coming to life. Forge punched their way back. They're up a man and a goal late on in this one and end up conceding again. Vasco Fry sent off in this one. Here's the foul right there, just left his boot up. And it begs the question here. Forge have given up 6 goals in their last 2 games. They haven't had a clean sheet since June 1st. Do you have some concerns about the way that Forge are playing, at least from a defensive perspective? 7 goals, I should say, in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I do. It's sloppy defensively. And Bobby Simeonis, as much as he loves to play attacking football, the way that Forge play, the way that they never kick the ball long from goal kicks, they always want to play out of the back, you cannot be sloppy. Guess what? You're playing a team in 3 days' time that will punish you if you want to play that type of way. It's hard. I know it's CanChamps and people play outside themselves and play up, but you have to be consistently doing well in the season, John.
Yeah, not trending the right way leading into that game, this big game on Wednesday night against Toronto FC, and I think that's a bit of concern for Bobby Simeonis and Forge.
Yeah, just especially with the defensive players they have and the options. Just need to tidy that up. I don't think there's any question about the talent in that side, but just tighten it up, Forge. Let's go. The Canadian men's national team just keeps on rolling at Copa America. It was a memorable Friday night as they advanced to the semifinal via penalty. Schaffelburg a starring role yet again. Our assessment on what Canada has done thus far and a look ahead to Argentina, part 2. This is Match Night on One Soccer.
Do we really have any choice at all?
Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good.
Volkswagen.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
For sport played with our feet, funny how lending a hand takes us further together.
Oh, Canada, oh, baby, presented by CIBC. And Canada are off to the semifinal of Copa America. They face Argentina on Tuesday night after defeating Venezuela. It was 1-1 through 90 minutes, 4-3 on penalties to advance to the Final Four. Uruguay, Colombia on the other side of the bracket. It's weird when you look at world football right now, those 4 teams remain in Copa America. You have England, Netherlands, Spain, and France in the Euro, and Canada's part of this massive equation. Just pinch yourself moment for Canadian football. Wheeler, Wilson, and Conway with you. There have been so many highs over the course of this ride to the Copa America semifinal. What's been the most important factor on this run leading Canada to the Final Four?
I mean, I'm going to do a 2-for-1. I'm going to say that they're together as a team, but they're hard to beat. Has it been the most attractive football all the time? No. Has it been a team that's gone forward and you're like, oh yeah, they look great today in the final third? But John, they're playing together and they're working hard and they're running those extra meters and they're hard to beat. I mean, looking at the Venezuela match, it was probably the most attractive football, and they got into the offensive third a lot more, and you're thinking there were more goals as opposed to the beginning of the tournament. But still, this is a resolute team. This is a team that's rolling up their sleeves. And for me as a Canadian fan, it's just something that we've wanted to see for a long time.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just Max Crepeau. I think Max Crepeau's been great this whole tournament. Yeah, I mean, he's just doing the job. I know I'm a goalkeeper and I have an affinity to that, but
bias.
I think I have severe bias. I think he's been great. And then you've seen Jacob Schaffelburg just really just grow into that spot and be great for him, for this team as well. I think the team's buying into what Jesse's putting out there. I think they're starting to, as you said, come together, and they're galvanizing themselves each and every time they step on the field.
Can I add a couple others to the equation?
Absolutely.
It's the new players or the role players that stepped up. Whether it's Max, whether it's Schaffelburg, Bombito, Osorio, like it's not just like, hey, Davies and David, jump on our back here. Yeah. It's different players have stepped up to make this all possible. And I'll say the other thing, many people might not like this, but the draw has been favorable for Canada. It is undeniable. If you could play any team in that quarterfinal, you want to have played Venezuela. So you can track that back, not to the red cards that Canada played against, teams that went down to 10 men in their group. It's the fact that Ecuador went down to 10 men against Venezuela, and Venezuela beat them 2-1. That Ecuador team was very good. You did not want to meet them in that knockout round game. Fair play to Canada. They beat a good team in Venezuela in that quarterfinal.
It's funny watching that game and seeing Soteldo out there, having to spend some time with Soteldo with Toronto FC.
You're on the coaching staff at the time.
And it's just, we're looking at that guy out there. And I think most of the guys on the team that were around when Soteldo was there felt comfortable knowing that he's one of the players that they got to eliminate for that game, because there's a lot of times where he's difficult to defend sometimes. He's a tricky little bugger, and when he gets on the ball, he becomes dangerous when he wants to be. Yeah. But most of those guys that were with Toronto FC know him well, and he becomes a non-issue.
When he wants to be.
Correct.
Those are the key words there. Is there a lasting image for you, John, from Friday night that will stick with you, whether it be an individual moment?
I mean, Schaffelburg, the goal was for him getting across and tapping it, like the way he's been playing for me, like I like the kid. We brought him over from the East Coast, and we had him when I was coming up through the coaching ranks at Toronto FC, and I just love seeing guys like that be successful.
I think in years' time.
I just want to piggyback off that, because, I mean, you were there. Like, how was that decision made that Schaffelburg wasn't part of the future of Toronto FC? It's a tough one.
That's out of my pay grade, Rios. Jurisdiction. I got to stay in my lane, dog.
Yeah.
All right, I stick with the goalkeepers, and I do that. And other people make some decisions, and that decision was made, and decided to move on from him. But honestly, he took advantage of that when he went to Nashville.
Totally. And
really blossomed and has become a really good player in this league.
In fairness, some players need it to take the next level, change the scenery, and he's embraced it.
I think that's a big problem with Toronto FC in a lot of ways, is that a lot of these players just get so comfortable being here and coming through the ranks, and everything's so easy for them, that these guys need to get out of here. They need to move on, and the club needs to be willing to part with guys and not worry about, like what happened with Jacob. We parted with him, but now he's lighting it up and doing very well. That shouldn't be a hindrance for moving players on. You move them on, and you move on, and you get somebody else to come in and do the job at Toronto FC.
Jordan, your lasting image?
Kone, that pen, the reaction after, everyone celebrating. Like, for a kid that's 22 who had the tournament that he had, he was benched. He was not phased. He said, this is my moment. Even when he came on, he was like, give me the ball. I want to make something happen. Not in a cocky way, just very motivated. I mean, in years to come, when I think about the quarterfinals of the Copa America, I think about Kone just slotting that home like he's been here before.
I'm weird when I look at things and when I look at games. It was Jesse Marsh's celebration. I don't know what this...
This one, baby?
I was just like, man, eat it up, live it.
At that point, I said, yeah, homeboy can't dance. That's like when he came with this, I said, we love you, Marshy. Honorary Canadian.
I was like, oh, Schaffelburg touching, but this one right here
he cannot dance.
Was something.
Bless him.
Let's hear from Jesse Marsch. One of the big, I mean, he's made so many really good decisions. One of them was naming Alphonso Davies captain. Here is Jesse Marsch on Alphonso Davies.
I think he's done an amazing job. And, you know, every way I've challenged him and when he's had to, in his own way, he wants to step in front of the team and he wants to be the leader and he wants to be the guy that they all look to. And he already is, but he's developing that into his personality more and more. So I've been incredibly impressed with him. And most importantly for me, it's actually created clarity in the way he's played. It's not like he doesn't feel with this team now that he has to make every play. He knows that by fulfilling his role and doing the best that he can do at the things that he's good at, that's the best he can do to help the team. And he doesn't need to be more than what he is. So I said maybe at one point that we just want him to be the player that he is and we want him to be the leader that he is. And we don't want him to be anything more than that. And for me, the only thing is by just watching him, it's growing every day. And that's really wonderful to see. So I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy with him. And he's going to continue to be a great leader for the team for many years to come.
I feel like in the past, like oftentimes the spotlight was on Davies, good, bad, or indifferent, right? But this tournament, you just kind of feel like he's part of the team. And maybe even a little bit more involved in the team, which is kind of ironic if we want to cast him in that kind of light. It just seems like he's just playing his role really, really well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, left back, you think about it, of course, nowadays you could say it's an attacking position, but the first thing you have to lead from is defending and defending well, right? I think there's other players that have taken the spotlight in a great way, but I've wanted this for Alphonso Davies. Every time he comes into camp, every time he plays for Canada, people are like, oh, they want to see him doing tricks, bombing down the left side. I want to see Canada win. He's a part of that now, John, in the leadership role, playing consistent and not doing too much, kind of staying in that window. The window for me is you can maybe not care as much. I don't think he's been there, or you can care too much or want too much, and then your play kind of suffers. Right now, he's in that perfect spot.
The one word that just keeps on being resonated through that whole conversation from Jesse was leader, 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 leader for now, leader for years to come. And I think, you know, they're going to need that on against Argentina on Tuesday night when they're going to go against this team again that beat them in the preliminary rounds. And I think they're going to need his leadership. They're going to need his ability to drive this group and get everybody and keep everybody on the same page, especially when times are tough. Yeah. Times have been pretty good for this team up until this point, but they're going to face some tough times here, and you really got to show through that leadership during those tough times.
Despite the achievement, and listen, the country's buzzing about this Canada side, certain players still aren't immune from criticism, and Kyle Larin's probably received more criticism than most. Here's his teammate, Richie Larea, standing up for Kyle Larin and his performances and what he means to this Canadian team.
Yeah, Kyle does a lot for the team, honestly. Like you said, I feel like there are a lot of fans that are just coming out the woodworks and they watch a game and they think they know everything about football and everything about players. You know, there's a lot of things that go into tactics, a lot of things that go into preparation for matches. Yes, he hasn't scored yet, but he's doing so much for the team. If you look at the distance he's covering in games, the way he's getting after defenders, him and Jonathan are the first line of pressure for us. And if they're not pressing well, we can't press well behind them as a team. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us here, we don't really have a lot of time for fans like that think they can watch a game and start critiquing people. He's very important to this group, as a lot of people are. But, yeah, he hasn't scored. Hopeful, and I think he's going to score this next match against Argentina, but he's been doing a lot for us.
I agree and disagree with Richie, because I agree Kyle Larin hasn't been the problem. He's Canada's all-time leading goal scorer, and obviously you're going to expect more from a player like that, but I disagree because fans and pundits, they can come away with any opinion that they want. Like, that's the beauty of us all watching the game and coming up with our own interpretations. But what do you make of the criticism? Is it well placed? Should we be expecting more from Kyle Larin?
Yeah, I think as a forward, you're expected to score goals. So when you're not scoring, the spotlight's on you at that point because you're not scoring. You know, but Richie brings up a good point. His work rate defensively has really been critical for this team, and I think that's a big plus. Even though he's not scoring, he's doing these other sort of intangibles that are helping this team out, and everybody's on the same page. And we just talked about everybody being together, and you can see that through his work galvanizing the group from the front line.
And the hold-up play. I mean, in the beginning of the match, I know that there are other players that Canada could bring in that may be pacey and play a different style. But I think the way that he's locked in, as John mentioned, but even just that hold-up play, like he's one of those players, he's in there for that reason, right? To make runs deeper, but to just be that person that releases a lot of pressure. The way Canada play, they're nonstop. They're running for throw-ins. They need someone that could constantly be there and almost take the pressure off for a second or two. And that's what he does. I agree with Richie. I think that this is going to be a big match against Argentina. I thought it was his best defensive match. It's weird saying that for a striker against Argentina. But he had those moments. He had that moment against Venezuela where he could have scored. He just needs to be a bit more clinical, a bit more of a sharpshooter that we all know he can be.
He's not the only player on this team that's missed chances, though.
Exactly.
So I think it could be cherry picking a little bit. Look, he plays in La Liga. He plays tough games against good defenders all the time. In international football, John, it's supposed to be hard to score. You're not playing Cayman Islands here.
Correct. And then one thing is this, as forwards, they get one sniff, they get one goal, and then the floodgates open and things starts rolling. So you're hoping that happens now as we get into these important matches here.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, everyone has a dry period, right? But yeah, like once you break your ice, it's good for me.
Speaking of pundits, American pundits specifically, John's now a Canadian citizen.
Come on, baby.
So, look, it's been a great Copa America. I've loved watching all these games, unless you're American or Mexican, really. And the American pundits, now that they're out, they've had a lot to say about Canada. Here's a taste.
The reality is they didn't get it done. And when you look at a team like Canada, who actually got out of their group, scoring one goal, it is a failure. We do not want to see Canada getting out of the group in a Copa America tournament. So
I can't believe it.
Something needs to happen.
And I got to see Canada. I got to see Canada do this. And okay, I'll step aside and I'll say, congratulations to Canada. But from a U.S. perspective, and I was with Clint Dempsey and I was with Mo Adu watching this, I mean, this hurts, man. This, anybody but Canada, Mossy. Anybody but Canada.
I love this stuff. I love disagreeing with people. Watching me, you can probably tell by that. But I love this stuff because it shows that Canada matters. Canada are a place where they're getting headlines, they're getting attention, and people are looking at this team in a critical way, even if you agree or disagree. Some people would say that comments like that are disrespectful towards Canada. Would you agree with that assessment?
I wouldn't say it's disrespectful. I would say that it's common. This is what we're used to if you're playing this game and you go somewhere else. People will look at you. It's changed a bit in recent years. But even like 2015, for me to go over to Europe, it's, don't you guys play hockey? Wait, you guys play soccer in Canada? Like, you guys play football? Who do you have? Right? Which I always have respect for Atiba Hutchinson, who tore up the Danish league and was one of the best players for 4 years. Because you have people that can play the game, but people don't think Canada and think soccer or football. And it's so great to see them do it on the world stage. And you have USA and Mexico that aren't in the semifinal. So however they got there, they're still there, John.
Yeah, I think this is highlighted a lot more just because the Canadians have an American coach now. Okay? And with Jesse Marsh, the treatment that he supposedly had from U.S. Soccer when he was interviewing for that job, the sort of the sort of comments he made about Greg Berhalter leading up to, last year and through this year. Yeah, I think that highlights this whole thing a lot more, especially for a guy like Alexi Lalas, who loves to, twist it. He'll twist it and get the hot take and say some things. And he's not wrong in this case. Like, yes, as American, and I'm a Canadian American or American Canadian now, you never want to see your rivals on either side of you do better. I never wanted to see Mexico do better than us. Clearly, when I was in the U.S. system, I didn't want Canada to do better than us. And now it's even, as I said, more highlighted because you have an American coach leading the charge up here in Canada.
Yeah, it's a great, and guess what? Canada's going to play the United States in an upcoming game. It just adds even more spice to that. So just let them talk about us. It's all good because Canada have 2 more games to play at Copa America, and the United States are -1 now? Because, anyways, we'll leave that alone. Vamos, presented by Degree, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time as we count down to kick off Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's Canada. It's Argentina. It's the semifinal of Copa America, and we'll turn our attention to that match next here on Match Night.
Hey. Let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand. What? What about Cancun sand? It's so soft. Or maybe Caribbean white sand? Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got dolphins.
Costa Rica, then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good.
Volkswagen.
Tony Bet. Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with Tony Bet.
The countdown for Canada against Lionel Messi Part 2. It's on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on TSN, the rematch. And the winner goes on to play in the Copa America final. On location in New Jersey is our very own Oliver Platt.
Welcome to the Pingree School in New Jersey, just about an hour outside of New York City. And this is Canada's training base for the next couple of days ahead of the Copa America semi-final against Argentina. It's also Jesse Marsch country. The head coach has plenty of links to this part of the world. He started his playing career in college at Princeton University, just about 45 minutes from here. He would go back there as a coach and then obviously onto the New York Red Bulls, his second head coaching job in Major League Soccer. It's very peaceful and quiet out here. That is not going to last long as we count down the hours to this Copa America semi-final. Just a few journalists in attendance today. Tomorrow there will be an avalanche descending upon them to talk to this team ahead of meeting Messi and Argentina, as well as obviously their official media availabilities, the press conference at MetLife Stadium. The team, you'll be shocked to hear, with Canada, is confident. Richie Larin said that this team is a completely different side to the one that lost to Argentina in the opening game of this tournament, citing the amount of work they've been able to get through with Jesse Marsch in terms of his style of play and the way he wants to see them perform on the pitch since then. Ishmael Kone, at this point, almost comically undeterred, unfazed, and cool, calm, and collected. He said, we have everything to gain in this match against Argentina, and he's right. All the pressure is on Messi and the world champions to advance to another Copa America final. So there's a long list of teams to my right here that have trained at this facility, going all the way back to Italy before the 1994 FIFA World Cup here in the United States, to most recently Juventus, also from Italy, just a few years ago. There's one little slot left at the bottom of this banner. Maybe it will read Canada if they can make it to this Copa America final and continue to make history here in the United States.
Very cool. Maybe you can cover up Liverpool 2003. That'd be cool as well. You're very familiar with Pingree as well.
Yeah, Pingree, a bunch of my roommates from Rutgers were Pingree guys.
Awesome.
The coach at Miller Bellari is a legend in New Jersey. He's coached for a gazillion years at Pingree, and a bunch of players have gone through there, so yeah.
At training at Pingree today, Richie Larin said that, I want to get this quote right, we're a completely different team than when we last played Argentina. They have probably grown up a lot over the last few games. Are they that much different of a team that you're giving them a chance at potentially upsetting the reigning Copa America, the reigning world champions?
I think tactically there's not much different with this squad, but I think there's far more belief, as there should be. You're Canada and you're in the semifinal. You get another crack at playing the best team in the world. That whether people, pundits want to say you haven't scored so many goals, you're still in a semifinal. I don't remember any tournament, I haven't been in a big tournament like a Copa, where you look at, oh, we're in the semifinals, but we weren't scoring goals. You're winning games. I don't care. Even if you're tying, you're in the knockout round. So I think Canada needs to just accept that underdog role. I think most nations, if you're playing Argentina, you're accepting that underdog role. And that there's 90 minutes. I'm not saying play to a draw, but I'm just saying as well, you know what it's like to win in penalties. You have a Max Crepeau. Maybe you can dream a little bit. They have everything to play for in a few days' time, John.
Listen, this is a golden opportunity for this team. The pressure is all on Argentina and Messi. They are the world champs. They are arguably the best team in this tournament. They can easily go out and put a couple by Canada, or Canada can show up and have a game of their life. No pressure. Go out and do it and see what happens from there. I mean, as you mentioned, the confidence has grown each game in this tournament. Survive in advance, and they're in a situation now where they're in a semifinal of a major competition. Yeah. So go out and just ball your life out and just have a blast and just execute when you can get it done.
Well, we say when two teams play one another in a short period of time, it's very difficult to beat the same team twice. This Argentina side, though, has maybe even learned a little bit more about what it's like to face Canada. That's what the scary part of the equation is for me. Yeah, sure, Canada learned what it's like to play Messi in Argentina, but the other way around. And if we look back to that first game, Canada were very fortunate not to concede more against that Argentina side. I think that's fair to say.
Fair to say. Absolutely fair to say, but they obviously held on and did what they needed to do. I mean, again, we talk about this. It's a one-off game.
Yeah.
Like, one-off game. You show up and you just got to come that night, and everybody's got to be focused, ready, all on the same page, and just have the night of your life. And then you send major shockwaves through the soccer world if you're able to pull off a huge.
But what changes? Okay, so Canada in that game played a high back line, and they said, you know what, try to beat us over the top. Lautaro Martinez has done that. He came on as a substitute in that game. He leads the tournament in 4 goals. So potentially Canada might need to change their tactics. Do they need to change their personnel from who they put out against Venezuela?
I mean, Marsh has some decisions to make, right? I think one in particular, that central midfielder, who's going to partner with Eustachio. I think Oso, and you know him better than most, more of an attacking-minded player. I think he's done everything Marsh would ask, right? Has ran his socks off, has been a bit more defensively sound. But do you go with Kone, who for me is probably a better 1v1 player? What I mean by that, can get by someone, also has the legs to maybe go and defend and get into a tackle. I think you start Richie. I think you bring on Liam Miller later in the game. But the biggest one for me is just that midfield partnership.
Yeah, he's still got some question marks. I do like Oso in there. I think he'll be extremely disciplined, especially in this case, going against Argentina. And I think whatever the task that Jesse sets out for him, just based on tactically, he'll execute. Not saying that Kone won't, but I just think as an older player, more responsible, you can get it done.
I agree. I think one thing tactically I would like to, as a fan, I would like to see different from this match as opposed to when Canada played Venezuela, is take some time. Like, for throw-ins, they're running, and it was go, go, go. I think it favors Canada a bit for certain times when there's a foul or when there's a throw-in or when there's a corner. Just take your time, take this thing out of the game a little bit, because as the game goes on, especially if it's close or tied, all the pressure intensifies on Argentina. Canada could just sit back and relax and absorb it.
I understand this sentiment that all the pressure's on Argentina. I just don't think that they feel the pressure. Like, this is a group of winners. They're comfortable in the way they play. They're really good working the ball to the back. They have destroyers in the middle of the park, and they have Lionel Messi, who no one is better in world football playing between the lines. So the challenge here is so huge for Canada. Look, for me, you just can't get blown out. Because then I think some people will be like, well, look who you played against in the past. Whether that's fair or unfair, I mean, I don't want to go there. But if Canada are competitive, if they put forward a performance and continue to capture the imagination of this country, is this another one of those turning points, Jordan, for this program? Because I feel like I've said before, they've had turning points, qualifying for the World Cup, then they back up the bus, and then they fare well in the World Cup, and then they back up the bus. But what about this as a potential turning point?
I think it is. I think it already has been. But I totally agree with you, right? If they go and take 5 from Argentina, everyone's like, oh, okay, we're back to square one. But look, going into this tournament, for me, Canada has already overachieved. But what they've started from is that brotherhood, running extra meters for each other, hard to beat, they're grinding out victories. That has to remain. And you mentioned it the other day on Vamos, is that there's another level to the team. But I don't think that they can reach that unless this is the new base. Every single time they cross the line, John, they have to be able to run and work for each other. They have to be hard to beat. They have to be able to defend together. The way that they've done it so far in this tournament, in my lifetime, I haven't seen Canada do that. Be so hard, be so gritty for a football team. So that's for me the kind of turn in the corner, but they just have to keep it up.
Yeah, again, I mean, the mentality that Jesse Marsh and his style of play is that high pace, high press, push, defend high, win the ball back, and go. And like you said about the throw-ins, there is going to be some technical nuances to this that they're going to have to get through. But as long as they're all moving in the same direction, it seems like every one of these guys has bought into this.
Yeah.
So Jesse's done a really good job. I'm not in the room, but just based on what I'm hearing coming out, you know, has done a really good job and gotten everybody on the same page, and everybody understands what he wants from them, and they're executing for the most part out on the field. I think it's going to be a real challenge, again, playing Argentina for a second time. Yeah. Challenge. I think the other thing is, you know, if Messi gets loose and starts doing his thing and has some joy between lines, they're going to have to make some changes in regards to how tactically they want to deal with that. I know you can't, you're not going to have somebody follow him around all night long. You just got to be aware where he is, but you need to have to be able to make slight adjustments here and there if he starts to get joy and you guys are dealing with balls getting played through you and played over behind you.
And quickly, I just want to say, Messi didn't play great the last time he played Canada. He had 2 assists. Yeah. Like he had 2 big chances to score. 1v1 with Crepeau, and Crepeau was the better on the night. But just think about that. He played poor. He could have had 2 goals, and he definitely had 2 assists. So it's just like he's one of those guys that you just have to watch at every moment.
And you said Crepeau's going to need to stand on his head.
Yeah.
Big saves are going to have to come from him.
And the other guy down the other way, Emi Martinez, best goalkeeper in the world. Don't forget about that. Look, like what I love about this team, and I will not question heading into Tuesday, is the mentality and togetherness of this group. At times over the last couple of years, the direction from the top kind of abandoned some of the group, and individual agendas came into play. That's gone. Marsh has got this team focused. The commitment is admirable. What I will ask of this team, please be better at set pieces. That could be the difference, honestly.
No,
set pieces
real.
need to be better. Reaction like that upcoming on Vamos, our One Soccer live reaction show immediately following Argentina and Canada on Tuesday night. Best and worst of the week is coming up next here on Match Nights.
Canadian soccer fans, we're different. We cheer on the Reds while cheering out our motherlands and each other's lands. Soccer is in our hearts. Our roots are on display. Not to divide, but to unite. Because to us, soccer's more than just a game. It's who we are. From coast to coast to coast, it connects us all. Cheers to us. Cheers to the game.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of ultimate chicken hot dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
For sport, played with our feet. Funny how lending a hand takes us further together.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree. Keeps working when others stop.
It's time for the best and the worst of the week with Wheeler, Wilson, Conway with you. I asked if this whole segment could be Roberto Martinez in Portugal so I could just dump on them. I was vetoed. There's a lot of bad there when it comes to that Portuguese performance. Why is Ronaldo playing every minute of that?
Okay, Wheels.
Anyways.
That's okay.
Laser pointers are apparently such a thing. Conway, isn't this what we used against our teachers in the 90s?
Absolutely.
The laser pointer to distract them?
You just see his face.
They're back! Moise Bombito, the laser pointer, on his face before he coolly steps up and takes that pen. I am the captain or the leader of the Moise Bombito fan club because the technique on his pen after that and after the weight of the referee saying, are you okay? It was picture perfect.
Beyond confidence, right? To put that ball down, put it where he did. You gotta love it.
Laser pointer. Do you still have one?
No.
No?
But when down in Mexico a few years ago, we got laser pointed at us in the final against Chivas in the Champions League final.
2018?
Yep.
Wow. So laser pointers are still a thing. Just don't bring them to the field. Don't bring them into the stadium, everyone. Jacob Schaffelburg, I mean, what a night. I mean, he scored the goal against Venezuela and got to meet another proud Nova Scotian in Sidney Crosby. There you go.
The kid, the boy.
Look at how happy he is. You know Jacob, John. Like, this is him in all of his glory.
Yeah, totally. What a moment for him. He's like loving life. East Coast boys hanging out together in Texas, like, good for them.
We had a debate with Andy, like, is it still okay to call Sidney Crosby the kid?
That's
Sid the
his
kid?
name, man. Sid the kid.
I think it's with you forever. Yeah. That's what it is.
He's 80. He's going, hey, kid. All right. John, you were on the broadcast on this. Like, we just saw this. Jordy Swivel of Valor gets substituted off. He's walking his way around. He takes Carducci's and Cavalry's water bottles and then throws them away. Have you ever seen this before?
What a move. I've never seen this before. What an unbelievable move. He was in a battle all night with Dan Klomp, and they were fighting all night. And then stuff boiled over there towards the end when the red card occurred to Alarcon, and he walked around the goal, and I was watching him as he was walking around the field. And I was like, oh, he's just going to take a drink of the water. Then he kept carrying it, and then he went and grabbed the other 2 bottles and walked off to the side. I was like, oh, my goodness, this guy he's angry right now. He took the water bottles. I'm like, that's
what
it.
if you turned around and saw another player doing that when you were playing? Drinking the water bottles.
I would have lost my head.
Yeah. Personally, it's fight-worthy. It really is. Like, it seems like you're a kid on a playground, but you're like, you took my goalie's water bottle. Yeah. Like, it's enough to be like, hey, come back here. Yeah. I'm a king of dark arts. When I played, the stuff I said, the things I did, untying people's shoelaces, all this little stuff. I've never seen someone take the goalkeeper's water bottle. This is a new depth, and I personally like it.
Do you know why you can get away with it? Because Jordy Swivel's jacked. It's like him and Austin Ricci can get away.
Nah, Ricci's deal with him, man.
Sure. I used to lose it if they came and tried to drink out of my water bottle.
Yeah, fair.
Like, no chance.
So what's happening? What are you doing there, John? If you literally look over your shoulder.
If I look back and I saw it, I'd be having words, like big time. Something would be happening. I'd be pointing to the sideline to get somebody to go down and get my bottle back.
At least at the end of the game.
Go get my bottle back.
Leave the water bottles alone.
Oh, man.
A big moment for me and everyone at One Soccer was on Saturday. I got to meet the legend Denton Fraze in Purpose. If you don't know Denton's story, he's part of the Privateers 1882 supporters group at Halifax. He completed the Canadian Premier League stadium journey, went to his 7th other stadium outside of Halifax. He's been at every CPL stadium.
Love that.
Denton at York United on Saturday. I just had to go take my picture with him. He dresses as a privateer. I love his quote in Neil Davidson's article in the Canadian Press saying, it only takes one on the dance floor to get everyone else on the dance floor, so he decided to dress up and get everyone excited. We need more of that in the Canadian Premier League. A great fan. He was with a great group of Halifax Wanderers fans out on Saturday. It was great to meet all of them, and they're still backing Patrice Geyser, which I love.
When you would go and play at Halifax Wanderers at Wanderers ground, he's someone that I looked for. You're going across the pitch, you're like, where's Denton today? He's a local, faithful fan, and you need more of them in the CPL.
That's so cool. It traveled to every stadium now. Like, how cool is that?
I just want to know
what's honored by the league in some way for that.
What type of dry cleaning bill is that, though? This is what I want to know personally. Like, are you doing that after every match? I mean, you must be sweating in that thing, but we love you, Denton.
Apparently got like a new outfit after the first year because it was too hot. He has one that's more breathable. Now, it was great, and I appreciate Denton that much more.
Great.
He wore an eye patch of the whole game, so he's only seeing the game out of one eye. Like, great guy. It was a pleasure meeting him. It was actually the first soccer game I ever brought my 2-year-old son to win, and we got a little airtime on One Soccer. And the people at York United were great. They brought him over a York United teddy bear. It was just such a special day for him and just for me as a dad. Just awesome.
And that's the beauty about the CPL, right? Like the appeal to young kids growing up and playing this game is like no other.
Yeah, so good stuff. Shout out to Denton and the Wanderers fans. Forge taking some shots at Toronto FC, saying happy 4th of July. This was obviously posted on 4th of July. Basically ensuing that Toronto FC are an American club. What do you make of this, John? What do you make of this banter?
I love it. I love it. Daggers are being thrown early on for this game on Wednesday night. Like, let's go.
Look, I have one rule as an ex-player. If you're going to talk any form of smack, you better make sure you go in. Don't be hopping out of any tackles. Yeah. I'm not saying go studs up, but make sure you're there. Yeah. Because that's the worst thing. You do all of this, and it comes time to actually be there on the day, and then you're hiding. Can't happen.
Yeah. I just hope that the fans start chanting USA, USA on Wednesday night. That's your best and worst of the week. And we're going to look ahead to the TELUS Canadian Championship. The first legs go Wednesday night. It's Forge and TFC and Pacific and Vancouver Whitecaps, a couple local derbies. A look ahead next as match night rolls on right here on One Soccer.
Tony Bet. At Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with Tony Bet.
Hey, let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand. What? What about Cancun sand? It's so soft. Or maybe Caribbean white sand. Sure. Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got dolphins.
Costa Rica, then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
Do we really have any choice at all? Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
Gatorade. With electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Canadian soccer fans, we're different. We cheer on the Reds while cheering out our motherlands and each other's lands. Soccer is in our hearts. Our roots are on display. Not to divide, but to unite. Because to us, soccer's more than just a game. It's who we are. From coast to coast to coast, it connects us all. Cheers to us. Cheers to the game.
Degree, 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree, keeps working when others stop.
This is the final score presented by TonyBet. Here's a reminder of how things finished up this weekend in the Canadian Premier League. Remember, you can win $100,000 or a trip to the 2024 CPL final by playing TonyBet's CPL Predictor. Visit predictor.canpl.ca for more info. We've been waiting for this. It's the semifinal round of the TELUS Canadian Championship. The first leg goes Wednesday. It's a doubleheader right here on One Soccer. Starting off with things in the hammer, it's Forge and Toronto FC, a rematch of the 2020 that was played in 2021 Canadian Championship final. And Pacific welcome Vancouver Whitecaps back to Langford, a place which ended Mark DeSantos' reign of the Whitecaps when Pacific beat them in a memorable 4-3 victory. Let's start off with the first game, Forge and Toronto FC. We documented how Forge have had some defensive issues as of late, but really the headline is Toronto FC's form, if you want to call it that, over the last month and a half. They've lost 6 games in a row and they haven't won in 9. Are Forge taking on a vulnerable Toronto FC side on Wednesday night, Jordan?
They are, but I guess I'll counter by saying that Forge haven't played their best as of late. But look, in the CanChamps this season, they've said this is a priority to do well. The 2 legs against CF Montreal, I thought they were outstanding. When they played at Tim Hortons Field, they were the better side. And then they're pragmatic, hard to beat, rolled up their sleeves when they went to Stade Saputo. So I'm hoping they take that form, Wheels, where you could see that they wanted CanChamps. You could see that they want to be. And look, you were there as well against TFC. They feel hard done by probably in that match and not to get over the line and penalty shootout. So this has to be the movement. I just want to see the Forge side that can go and actually beat a TFC in 2 legs.
Yeah, for me, that 2020-21 final when we had to wait and play it, that was probably the worst TFC team I've been around in my time there. And that was, for me, looking at that game, I'm going, oh boy, Forge may have us this game. And we were fortunate to get out of there with penalties. I think the case still stays the same for this one. You know, the form has been terrible for TFC of late. I think defensively they've struggled as well. The goals they gave up last night weren't very good against Columbus. But again, it comes down to how Forge shows up on the night. I mean, Forge needs to play as good, if not better, than they did play against Montreal. I thought they were, as you said, they were excellent against Montreal. If they can come out with that sort of attitude and that sort of mentality and take it to this TFC team and like shock them a little bit in the first 20 minutes, it's going to be tough for TFC to recover based on their...
You know this better than anyone else. Forge love an occasion, right? They love a moment. They love the big stage.
They've been waiting for this.
It's not getting bigger than this.
Toronto FC hasn't been tested in this tournament. Let's be real. They played 2 semi-professional sides, and they were in better form early in the season. I just wonder, like, Herdman's made it clear he wants new signings. They go out and huddle and get lectured after every game. I just wonder what the mood is in that locker room right now, because that's how they can be vulnerable. They have good players, but where are their heads at right now? We will see. Pacific and the Whitecaps. Pacific are down some players. Dominguez can't play because of this Canadian transfer window situation where the Canadian transfer window was supposed to open on July 5th, but the CSA moved it to the 18th. They've settled in the middle on the 12th. Dominguez can't play. Pacific are down some players, and now they're taking on a Whitecaps team. Finally, White has heated up, scoring goals on the regular, and Ryan Gold excellent as well. And Kubas has now come back from Copa America. The timing is not great for Pacific.
This is Whitecaps' tournament to win. I mean, they should win this. They should, no offense to Pacific, I think Whitecaps are trending in a way better direction. And I think this cup is theirs as long as they go out and execute. They're just a better team, and I think based on all the Canadian teams for me, they're playing the best at the moment.
I think 2 legs favor the team that has more depth and more quality, right? And that would be Vancouver Whitecaps. When you're playing one game, if you're Pacific, you can kind of put all your marbles forward and try to do your best. But for me, I agree with John. I think Whitecaps are the team to beat in this tournament, based on their pathway as well. For me, TFC and Forge, the gap is a bit closer. Pacific and Vancouver, it's still a bit large for me.
Yeah, they need to dig into the past. Cavalry played Vancouver Whitecaps very well.
They did.
The counterpoint is Vanni Sartini. He's made no bones about it. He wants to win this competition. Three-peat. There's some incentive here for the Whitecaps.
Yeah, there is. There is no question. And their side, right? They have certain players like White. I've played against him once, and it was enough to remember. Farm boy strong, can turn you. He's heating up, as you mentioned. They're just players on this Vancouver Whitecap side, even though they have an Ali Ahmed away as well. They still have enough quality, John, that they'll burn you if Pacific isn't perfect on the day.
Gold is a really good player. I mean, he's one of my favorite guys to watch in the league. When he gets on the ball, and he's just so smart on the ball, and I love watching him. I'd take him on any team.
The quirk about all of this is the first leg goes July 10th. Then the second leg doesn't go till August 27th. So there'll be personnel changes. Look, this is a product of Leagues Cup being a priority for MLS, and the MLS teams play Mexican sides. But we have a domestic competition that we still need to play. It's still exceptionally important for the players, the clubs, and the Canadian soccer infrastructure. So unfortunately, this is the way that things are going to play out. But let's hope for some fireworks, some results in the first leg, which will make the second leg absolutely worth the wait. We'll be back next week here on Match Night, breaking down how Canada did. The Euros will be wrapped up by that time. Jordan still thinks that England's going to win.
They're taking it. It's coming home, baby.
What are you watching?
Buddy, they can't play any worse, and they're still there, man. I think they're going to win it.
And the best team in world football is going to win a trophy as well. Colombia.
Ah, he did it!
As Copa America. That's my prediction.
Down. I love it, Wheels.
John Conway, thanks for stepping in. Once again, great job as always. On behalf of Jordan Wilson, I am Gareth Wheeler. This has been Match Night, and you've been watching One Soccer.
It is week 13 of the Canadian Premier League. We're at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, the home of the champions. Forge in third place, face Vancouver FC, currently in second place. They're all chasing the